In between vegan and carnivore sits this one diet often not talked about, the pescatarian diet, also known as the fish diet. I wanted to explore this often overlooked eating style, see how I would react, and see if I could uncover any hidden benefits or any downsides. What would I discover? Let's find out. But you gotta focus. Now, a common misconception that I learned about the pescatarian diet, because it is often referred to as the fish diet, you would think the idea is to focus mostly on getting fish in. But that's not actually the case. Based on what I found, this diet seems to lean more vegetarian or vegan, but when animal protein is desired, the only animal protein allowed is fish and other seafood, no land animals. And with that being said, on day one, I didn't eat any fish. That's because I didn't have any fresh fish in the house and I wanted fresh fish. But I was still able to be pescatarian by eating vegan. For based on what I said earlier, vegans would be pescatarians, but not all pescatarians are vegans. So if you eat vegan, I guess you can be a pescatarian, right? It's just simple math. But don't worry, I'd be getting my fish on soon. Now that brings me to day 2. I did start off with just a protein coconut vegan yogurt and a banana and some coffee, but going into lunch, I added in my first fish. Now remember when I said on day 1 I wanted to wait until I got fresh fish? Well, forget that. You see, when I was at my computer researching this diet further, I started to come across this topic of parasites in fish. And from what I found, it turns out that parasites in fish are on the rise. Upon further investigation, I discovered that some of these parasites can actually be harmful to human health if consumed when they're still alive. And in some cases, may need to be endoscopically or surgically removed. Whether that's actually a factual statistical significance that's going to happen if I consumed an undercooked portion of fish or not, I just didn't want to take any chances. And on top of properly cooking your fish in order to help get rid of all of these parasites, another layer of protection is freezing fish before thawing and then cooking. But according to the CDC, to kill the parasites by freezing, you actually want to freeze it at -4 degrees Fahrenheit for at least 7 days or -31 degrees Fahrenheit for 15 hours. Either of which I don't know if I did, so that's why I'm going to be double doing it. Frozen fish that is going to be thoroughly cooked. Now I do want to make it clear before it seems like I'm just bagging on the pescatarian diet. Upon further looking into just parasites in general, which is just, I probably shouldn't have looked into it. It seems like parasites can find their way into any undercooked or raw food and survive there and then find their way into the human body. So that's a whole nother wonderful topic to look into later. Let me know if you want me to explore that. But it did seem like the fish, and specifically the wild-caught cod and salmon, seem like they have more parasites than other foods. So for my peace of mind, I decided to consume only fish that was previously frozen and then that I would cook thoroughly in this experiment. Too hot. So rice, way too many peas, and a piece of salmon fried in coconut oil. Only at the end, because I had to boil it in water to thaw it. Let's taste it. It's a little chewy, but considering the cooking technique, I'd say that actually went pretty well. Alright. Now as I eat my first meal of boiled then fried wild-caught salmon, peas, and rice, I do want to touch on another concern that comes along with eating a lot of fish. And that is mercury. Mercury, a toxic heavy metal, has been found in higher quantities in fish than in other animals. Based on what I found, I believe it has something to do with the pollution of the water and then just pollution in the air ending up in the water, going down to the surface of the ocean, and then somehow it gets converted from mercury to methylmercury, and then the phytoplankton eating it up, and then the fish eating the phytoplankton, and the mercury kind of going from the phytoplankton to fish and to bigger and bigger fish. And well, apparently based on what I found, the bigger the fish, the more mercury it might have, because it accumulated all of those smaller fish with mercury that accumulated the smaller fish with a little less mercury, like it built up to the bigger fish. So with that being said, what I found is if you want to try to avoid higher mercury concentration fish, then try to avoid predatory bigger fish like sharks, swordfish, and big-eyed tuna. Now luckily, some of the best choices of fish were going to be the fish that I was consuming throughout this experiment, primarily cod and salmon. Alaskan wild-caught salmon having some of the lowest levels of mercury of all fish. Okay, now I know what you're probably thinking. I've been really dogging on this pescatarian way of life. First the parasites, now the mercury. I mean, what's even the point? Well, I think it's time for me to start talking about some good. And with that being said, when looking into specifically wild-caught Alaskan salmon, it turns out there might be a lot of good, and good that you cannot find at the same ratios in other meats or other plant foods. First and foremost, you might already be able to guess, but omega-3 fatty acids. Apparently a 3-ounce serving of salmon contains around 1,800 milligrams of omega-3 fatty acids, which would be like the equivalent of a decent-sized fish oil supplement, and that's with only 3 ounces. By the time day 1 was done, I ate close to 18 ounces of wild-caught salmon. Talk about being omega-3'd, baby. Now the benefits of including omega-3 fatty acids in the diet can range from helping reducing unnecessary inflammation, improved blood flow. They play a crucial role in brain development and cognitive function, so essentially like a staple nootropic. And they might even be able to help with aiding in certain autoimmune issues. Now I also do want to make it clear, just like anything else, taking too much omega-3 fatty acids could be bad as well, and lead to things like too low blood pressure, bleeding, and even heart arrhythmias. But with that being said, I assumed getting a large dose of omega-3s from just eating a couple pieces of salmon one day wouldn't cause any of this, and in fact might actually cause some of those brain boosting, health boosting effects. Which I gotta be honest, the next day I did feel pretty clear. Like I had this clarity while I was working, I felt fresh, I felt this like brain stamina. So maybe it did have something to do with eating all that salmon the previous day. Oh! Ew! Now the next day I had my primary source of fish as cod, a light and flaky white fish very low in fat, if eaten without the skin, which it typically is. I cooked and then I kind of ground it up like, I guess, taco meat, seasoned with taco flavor, and to be honest, when paired with rice, beans, and some taco toppings, it actually made for a very nice fish taco bowl, I guess we can call it. And even the way I cooked it, which was kind of just boiled in water, like it still remained light and flaky and not chewy at all. So in my opinion, this was a very versatile, still pretty good tasting fish, which was easily disguisable into any flavor I was thinking, in this case, a Mexican seasoning. Now after this meal, which was a very high volume by the way, I still had a hankering for some fats, for actually it was a very lean meal looking at the macros now. But later, sticking to the pescatarian rules, which is essentially vegetarian or vegan plus fish, I had a vegetarian or vegan snack, you could say, of some almond butter and some apple slices. The next day, after shopping for some more fish, getting some more salmon, for my next meal, kind of getting sick of having so much rice, I decided to throw in some of this Ezekiel toast. Gritty. So for my first meal using this toast, which is vegan by the way, I used 4 pieces of toast, I chopped up some avocado, then I cooked up some cod like I did the previous day, put it on these pieces, and then on 2 of these pieces I put some sauerkraut. I have no idea what I was doing, but believe it or not, for some reason the flavors all worked together and it actually turned out tasting pretty good. Or maybe I was just hungry, I don't know. Anyways, later that day, as I moved on to my next meal of wild-caught salmon, I want to talk about another unique benefit of wild-caught salmon, and that is the salmon's red color. You see, the pigment responsible for making wild-caught salmon that deep red color is a carotenoid called astaxanthin. This powerful carotenoid can act as an antioxidant and can have a wide range of benefits, including anti-unnecessary inflammation, improving and supporting skin health, eye health, potential cardiovascular and joint health, cognitive function, and some would claim even rejuvenating, anti-aging-like effects. So yeah, so far it's turning out that salmon, if you can get rid of the parasites, is actually quite the superfood. So I was actually going to continue to focus on this fish throughout the rest of this experiment. Now with the final 2 meals of the day, I had the same thing. It was toast, avocado, beans, and then salmon. Feeling pretty good and satisfied, I went to bed, but then I kind of ran into a little issue. So I've been awake for a little bit now, but I just want to take note of the fact that last night I Woke up multiple times in the night, stuffy, just so stuffy. My nose felt clogged up. I kept having like this like flap. It felt like when I'd breathe in, it'd be like, and then when I'd breathe out, it'd be like, poof. Like I just needed to clear my nose. Like there were extra boogers. Sorry for all the detail, but I'm trying to explain that I did not sleep well last night. I kept waking up, kept feeling stuffy. So do I think it has something to do with the fish consumption? No. I've had fish the first couple of days. I felt fine. I've had fish here and there in the past, and I've always felt fine. But what I think it actually has something to do with is the toast. The bread. I had a lot of bread yesterday, more than I really ever have. I never really do have bread. I kind of am gluten-free most of the time. But then all of a sudden yesterday, having the bread, well, it's kind of signaling to me that maybe I do have some kind of gluten sensitivity or something other sensitivity to the bread. Something just felt like correlated with that personally, based on the patterns I've seen with myself in the past. So I'm going to avoid the bread today and see if I can sleep better tonight. Yeah, still sticking to the fish, pescatarian. I think I'm going to do like rice or potatoes or something like that for a carb. And, just keep it basic. Getting that salmon in today, because salmon, it's turned out that salmon's a superfood if I can just avoid the parasites and the mercury. On with the day. Okay. Anyways, getting on with the day, one thing you might be wondering is how was my workout performance on this diet? Well, later this day, even with the poor sleep, I decided to work out. And after warming up into it, the workout was actually pretty darn good. I gotta stop doing that. Feeling relatively pretty strong though. Now there could be many reasons for this, but one that I was thinking about while having this good workout is the fact that salmon is one of the foods with the highest concentration of naturally occurring creatine. Up to 2 grams of creatine per pound according to this Google search. That is a pretty good microdose for myself based on the previous creatine experiment that I did. Check out that video if you haven't already, very interesting. But yeah, once again, just reiterating the reasons salmon should be considered one of the best superfoods, minus the parasites. Anyways, after the workout, I had a meal of 2 pieces of salmon, sweet potato, and some avocado, and then later I had 2 pieces of salmon, sweet potato, and peas. Now when this day was all said and done, it was the end of a work week, and I decided I wanted to be done with this diet. But let's now take a quick look at the before and after, and then go over some additions I want to add to my supplement stack that I learned from this diet. Now, regardless of any physique differences, I do have to say, throughout this experiment, I did feel mentally, cognitively clear, and I did have a good workout session, and I did have good energy. So going forward, would I continue utilizing fish in my diet, specifically wild-caught salmon, for it seemed to have so many superfood-like properties? Well, there's a couple of things to note. First of all, those points I made in this video regarding salmon being a superfood, the astaxanthin, creatine, and omega-3s, well, I've actually already been taking astaxanthin as a dietary supplement for over 10 years now. And then also recently I started microdosing with creatine monohydrate. The only thing I haven't been taking consistently is an omega-3 supplement. So I thought maybe it was the high concentration of omega-3s in the salmon that was causing me to feel so mentally clear throughout this experiment. So going forward, I think I may include salmon in my diet, but maybe just once or twice at most a week. But then to be more consistent with maybe getting benefits, I think I might want to start looking into some good omega-3 supplements. And these are 2 that I'm going to start with taking consistently. One, this krill oil from Transparent Labs, and this other DHA 700. Krill oil is supposed to contain bioavailable forms of omega-3, and then DHA 700 refers to DHA, one omega-3 fatty acid that is supposed to be responsible for that boost in brain health. Now I want to make it clear, I have taken omega-3 supplements in the past, but it was never consistent. This time I want to be consistent going forward. And then also another thing to note, Regarding the whole mercury heavy metal thing, both of these supplements, first of all, Transparent Labs test their supplements for heavy metals and other contaminants, and then this specific DHA 700 from iHerb, they actually provide a third-party lab test report for this specific supplement as well. Just a peace of mind for myself going forward. Let me know what you guys think about all this. Let me know if you guys have ever experimented with this diet or are a pescatarian. I would love to know your feedback. Thank you all so much for watching. Stay tuned, more videos coming out. Peace. I hope you all have a great day. I will see you all in the next video.